In this video, I'm going to show you the cold email first line that booked me 40 meetings in 12 days. If you don't know who I am, my name is Leonardo, and over the past few months, I've gotten results with this, and this just by using cold email. So if you are a B2B business, this first line is going to at least double your response rates and the meetings that you book from cold email. That being said, I recommend implementing this ASAP before everyone starts to use it. Now, I'm probably going to have to blur out all of these names, but these are all of the people that we've booked just by using this first line. All right, this is the first line that we are using this cold email campaign. As you can see, this is very simple. It is not sure if you are the right person to ask about this. Should get in touch with colleague instead, right? And with colleague here, we name the exact full name of the colleague, the relevant colleague at the company. Obviously, it has to be a relevant job title. So just to give you some context here, we've got the first, the initial greeting. So hi, first name, and then here we've got the first line. And then after that, we've got the cold email body. So the rest of the body with the offer, case studies, social proof, everything like that. And then here we have the call to action. And here we have the final greetings and the signature. So this is the first line. The way we find the colleague and the name of the colleague is by using Clay. So I'm going to show you in just a sec what the Clay table looks like for this. All right, so this is the Clay table that we are using for this campaign. As you can see here, this is the output. So the first line with a few examples, and then the colleague names that we are able to find at the companies. And here's all the enrichment that we have done so far for this campaign, right? Now, I'm not going to share the info before this column with you because this is sensitive data that we are using for a client's campaign. But basically everything is before this column is standard data. So like, for example, the first name, the email address of the contacts that we are reaching out to, the company name, the organizational link, the URL, for example, this one. And so all of the enrichment starts from here, right? Starts from this column, which is find contacts at company. So you use this column on Clay to essentially find, essentially what it says. So you want to find a contact at a company that you are reaching out to with a specific detail right here, which could be the organizational link, the URL, or the company domain, or the company website. So you want to point this column to that specific info. So for example, the company domain, and then insert a few keywords, a few job title keywords that you wanted to find at the company, right? So let's say you are reaching out to an e-commerce brand and you want to mention their CMO, right? Now in this column, you're going to do this. So you're going to edit column. And then in the job title keywords right here, you're going to put CMO and then Chief Marketing Officer or similar titles like those, right? And then you need to also insert the company identifier. In this case, I used the organizational link to URL, but you can use the company domain, as you can see here, the Sales Navigator URL or the Think Company website works as well, right? So in this case, this is a campaign that we are using for a client, and we are reaching out to dealerships, car dealerships, and in particular, job titles are sales managers, general managers, used car sales managers, and similar titles, right? Operations manager, VP of sales, right? So these job titles, right? And so what we did is company identifier, I put the organizational link to URL, which is this one right here. And then as job title keywords, I essentially used these few keywords to search for the relevant job titles at a company, right? That's all you need to know for this column, really. And what it will do is it will give as output a few full names, it will give a few contacts, right? But then what you do is you want to click on the found, X number of people, and then when I click here, and you will be able to see how many contacts it found at the company, right? So for example, in this company, it found 9 people, which could be, car sales manager, intern manager, all of the titles that we put as the input of the column, right? So if I go here, the first contact is apparently a sales manager, which is fine. The second contact is an inventory manager. The third contact is a service manager. All of these are good. Another one we've got assistant service manager. All of these are good. So what you want to do here is you want to click on the first one. What we did is we clicked on the first one, and then we added the first contact as a column, specifically the full name, right? So the full name as a column, right? As you can see here, this matches the first contact. And then what we did, because obviously all of this strategy, all of this first line is about mentioning a relevant contact at the company that we are reaching out to. And so for example, if you are reaching out to the sales manager John, we want to say, hi John, not sure if you are the right person to ask about this, should get in touch with Matthew, which is, might be a general sales manager at the company instead, right? So this is like, it has to be a relevant contact, has to be a relevant job title. Otherwise, it will just make no sense, right? And so the sole purpose of using this first line is really to get as many replies as possible, because you're going to get two types of replies. One, the first type of reply is basically people are going to say, yes, I'm actually the right person to ask about this. Let's talk, or you can continue a sales conversation from there, right? Or the second type of reply you will receive is actually people telling you that the contact that you mentioned in your first cold email is actually the relevant contact at the company you should be reaching out to, right? And then you can basically forward that email, and that gives you a to relevant contact, and enter a sales conversation from there. And that gives you way more warm intros, and those people are actually easier to convert, because the actual, the sales manager or the car sales manager told me that I should reach out to you instead of him, right? So that gives you a warm intro, and it's just easier to enter a sales conversation with those people and essentially book a meeting with those people, right? So obviously, the contact that you are reaching out to in the first place doesn't have to be the same contact that you mentioned here. Otherwise, obviously, they will understand it's an automated email. They will probably mark it as spam, right? So what we do here is I create this GPT prompt to essentially determine if the contact that we found with this column is the same as the person that we are reaching out to in the first place with our cold email campaign, right? So what I did here is I used this GPT prompt, um, ChatGPT, of course, generate text. You want to use this function right here of Clay. And then the prompt is very simple. So is name people, which is the contact that we found by using this column, the same person as first name, last name. First and last name are obviously, the first name and last name of the contact that we are reaching out to, essentially this lead, this row. And so if so, output true. If not, output false, right? So everything that's false, it means that this is not the same person that we are reaching out to. Everything that's true, it means that this is the same contact, right? So we want to avoid mentioning this contact, because otherwise, obviously it will be irrelevant, right? So this is the output. This is the text output, and essentially for the rows with true, we use the find contacts at company again, so another time. And the reason why we do this is because obviously we cannot mention this contact, because obviously it's the same person. So what I want to do is, instead of just throwing the lead away because we couldn't find a different contact, we just use another column, which is the same one as we used here, but again, right? And in this case, again, we do the same thing. As you can see, if we go to edit column, we do exactly the same thing. So company identifier, the organizational link, the URL, and then the titles are exactly the same. And then what we do instead is we pick the second result, right? So as you can see here, we've got people, we've got 4 results. The first one is, let's see, Joe. As you can see, this is the first result. The second result is, let's see, it should be Carl, right? Yeah, exactly. It's Carl. As you can see here, we pick the second contact, and then we determine whether that contact again is the same person to the person that we are reaching out to, right? Um, Obviously, if it's a different person, it's not going to be the same person. And then we essentially put everything into a formula. Obviously, if this is false, if this is true, then that means that this is the same person. So let's see if we can find an instance like that. Yeah, as you can see here, we've got true. So let's see, Jeremy, and then Jeremy. Yeah, this is the same person. So obviously, it's not going to be relevant to reach out to this one. So if this is true, then we just stop the enrichment for this lead. As you can see here, we've got nothing else. This is run condition not met, but typically when I export the CSV for the lead list, I'll actually put a filter so that we avoid reaching out to these people, and we avoid seeing these people in the lead list in the first place, right? But basically, what we do here is we use a formula to find the relevant full name of the contact, right? So if it was this one, then we use Wellington, and we put it here as the final output. If this was, for example, the second row, if this was true, that means that we had to find another contact. As you can see, Carl, and in this case, we use Carl as the full name, right? So this is just a way to put everything just one column, put all the full names that we found in one column, right? So an important thing you need to make sure you do here in the second enrichment find contacts at company, the second time that we run this, is that you need to set a conditional formula, right? So the conditional formula is basically a condition that needs to be met for the column to run in the first place, right? So why do we want to run this column? Well, we only run this column if the person identification response here is true. Because if it's false, that means that this is a different person than the contact that we are reaching out to. So this is fine. We can actually mention this person. If this is true, that means that we need to find another person in the company, right? The way we do this is I actually used AI for this. And so I put, only run if person identification response is true, right? If it's false, again, the first person that we find is going to be the right one, right? And so we only run this column if this is true. Otherwise, it's just going to cost you a ton of credits that is just unnecessary. All right, so the next thing we do is we format the full name that we just found. So by using this GPT prompt, right? The reason why we do this is because sometimes you will see some of the outputs are like all uppercase, as you can see here. This one, and some other ones are just weird. And so you want to normalize them just to make sure that in the cold email you are saying something that normal person could have said. And otherwise, if you are saying this in a cold email, like people will understand it's an normal email and it just looks super weird, right? So we want to use this GPT prompt to normalize the name that we just mentioned, that we just found. And to do that, we use this GPT prompt right here. So rewrite the full name so that only the first letter of the first and last name is uppercase with the remaining letters in lowercase, right? In this case, I also used 12 examples of how the output should look like. Basically, these are just some examples that you can give ChatGPT to essentially make it easier for it to come up with the right output, right? And so we use GPT 3.5 Turbo in this prompt because it's not necessary to use GPT-4 in all of the prompts that you use, especially in Clay, because sometimes, some of these prompts are like very simple and GPT 3.5 Turbo does its job. So it's just not necessary to use GPT-4 and spend four times credits. So that being said, here we've got the colleague output, which is essentially the output of this GPT prompt. And then we use this first line right here. This is a simple formula that we use to essentially merge, these actually the first line and the full name of the colleague together into a well-written first line, right? So I'm going to share this with you. Essentially, this is the prompt. So if colleague is not empty, because in some cases, you will run this column, the find contacts at company, and you will notice that there are no contacts at the company that you are reaching out to that match the actual job title keywords that you import, right? So in that case, well, you just can't use this first line, right? So that's the only reason why we do this condition, right? If the colleague field is not empty, because if the colleague field is not empty, it means that it found a relevant contact at the company that we can mention in the first line. So if it's not empty, write this sentence. Not sure, this is the first line I walked you through earlier, and then we use colleague. We put colleague inside the sentence. Then if the colleague is empty, so if this output is empty, then we write another first line, right? Because in some cases, as I said, it will not find any contacts, any relevant contacts. So you will just have an empty output, right? So if this is empty, write this. Not sure if you are the right person to ask about this. If not, can it be referred to someone who deals with sales or deals with marketing, depending on what your offer is. For example, if you are a recruitment company and you have a recruitment offer, you might say, can it be referred to someone who deals with recruiting or human resources at this company, right? Or of course, if you have like a marketing offer, then you can use who deals, someone who deals with marketing, right? This really depends on your offer and what you want to say in the email. Now, in this case, didn't find any contacts. So the sentence that we use is not sure if you are the right person to ask about this. If not, can it be referred to someone who deals with sales, right? Another thing you could say here to make it even more personalized is you could say someone who deals with sales at company name. In this case, we didn't do that because the company names for car dealerships sometimes are very long, so it just looks weird if you are mentioning it in the cold email. All right, so that was it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to leave them in the comments. That being said, I hope that this video was helpful. If you want to get 30 meetings with your clients on a pay-per-show basis, click the first link in the description and book a call with me. No worries if not, I have a ton of free content like this that you can learn from on my YouTube channel as well as on my landing page. That being said, I appreciate you watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.